Hey everybody, Michael here, finally, alive and kicking. Sorry it's been a while. I've had about like 3 weeks worth of just like straight back-to-back illnesses. Started off with a stomach bug, went into a cold slash flu, possibly into RSV, laryngitis, upper respiratory infection. This is about the best I've felt and about the best that my voice has sounded in about a week. So glad to finally be up in action, getting to move around, breathe a little bit of fresh air here, and get to show you guys the second prototype that came in while I was sick. So I'm gonna flip the camera around here in a second and kind of just let you guys see how it's looking, but really a lot to love here, a lot that executed really, really nicely. Been playing with it, fidgeting with it, carrying it in the pocket the last couple of days. And so really excited about a lot of the changes that we made, a lot of the improvements that we made. There are a couple things that were in the first prototype, though, that we really loved, that we didn't think to communicate to the factory, hey, make sure to include this. And so there's a handful of things that were in the first run that's not in the second run on the prototype. And so we're going to basically need to combine, the best of the first prototype with the best of the second prototype to produce a third prototype. As far as I understand, that's not going to slow us down any in terms of like fulfillment, but just basically wanting to make sure that the product that we get out to you guys is right on point for what we're aiming for. So I'll flip the camera around and let you guys kind of see what's the improvements and kind of a handful of things that we're going to kind of revert back to. But yeah, just excited to be alive and kicking, and appreciate y'all's patience as I've been trying to recover. All right, there she blows. Oof, man. I mean, it's hard to compliment something that you designed, right? But when it's been a while since you've held it in hand, then you just pop the sucker open. It's like, man, it's just a really nice knife. So I'm gonna try to go point by point here, but everybody asked for the clip filler, and of course we wanted to do the clip filler to begin with, but one of the things we wanted to do is make it not just like a generic square. So we designed the interior of the clip. If you look at the clip, we'll jump ahead a little bit here, but here's the new clip design. As a comparison, the previous one was not tapered at the bottom, so a new one on the right, older one on the left. So so you got the taper there, but then on the interior of the clip, we've shaped the bottom of it so that it has a nice little kind of shape here, sort of echoes the tapers on the rest of the knife. So that came out really, really nice. I mean, the lockup is just exquisite. It's just crazy solid. Just feels really, really nice. The sound, it's just got some really nice resonance to it. And then just, it's flicky fun. So like I said, there's a lot here that we really liked as far as the execution, and just makes us really excited to get these in your hands. But that's a couple of things here. Let's see, we wrapped the jimping around these edges here to just make it a little bit more grippy. And then you can see the logo here. We did the branding. We did the branding as like discreetly as we could. So you'll see the logo on the front of the flipper tab. Ooh, how close can I get before it gets blurry? And then am I going to stab my phone in the process? And then the serial number is on this side, and the steel type is on this side, and it's hidden when open and hidden when closed. And then at half mast, you can see the serial number there and the steel type. So we are going to, just because there is, like if you just look, you can see around the corner, there's a little bit of the serial number there on that side. and there's just like a little bit, yeah, right there. I mean, like if you can see what I'm talking about, it's like this tiny little line there. So we're going to shrink it down a little bit and scoot it over to the left just so it's fully hidden. And then we're gonna make the, instead of doing like a, you know, one of blank, just because it adds so many numbers, and we're in the 4 digits now, so we're just gonna do like 0001 and do it that way. So it looks like 1200 is going to be the run for it. So those are some of the changes that we advertised that came out really, really nicely. The pivot collar is different as well. You know, we had talked about raising the pivot collar to just beat these knives together. You know, we're giving them some character. So you can see the height difference of the pivot collar. And the thought there was, you know, because the button is, you know, above the collar here. So we thought, well, you know, we put it below the collar, make it a little bit, I guess the idea was to make it less easy to accidentally open, but I mean, it never gets accidentally opened. And the problem with this collar is it just makes it a lot less fun to play with. It's just, the button's harder to push, but not in like, in a fun way. And this one is just, I don't know, it's one of those things where I really feel like, you know, I introduced a problem by trying to add a feature, whereas this is just so much more. Oh, sorry. I actually have put some magnets in this one because this is the model that Luke over at Calculated Survival destroyed for us. If you haven't seen that video, he did like a lock test to see how much weight the lock could handle. And he said normally liner locks start to fail at about 70-ish pounds. And this one failed at 132, I think it was. So, you know, from his perspective, the tests he's done, he felt pretty good about it. And it also, the lock failed this direction rather than that direction. Which is, you know, what you want in a failure. And of course, Sikio had already, you know, tested it, but I felt like it might be good to have an outside voice on that. And then just, you know, I really liked his rig that he had created to test this. And so I wanted to run it through that. So that's why I can't push the button anymore and flip it open, because I've got magnets in there, because even though the lockup, he bent the bar back, so the lockup is back to roughly where it was. There's a little bit of wiggle in it now, but the detent's like basically completely gone, and so I put some magnets in it to where I could, you know, pop it back and forth. Yeah, I didn't even remember what I was talking about, so sorry. Oh, pivot collar size, but this one is it's just so much more fun and fidgety, and like it's not really going to be a problem in terms of like accidentally, you know, disengaging the knife. And so we are going to go back to, that's a my bad. We're going to go back to that design rather than this one. It just takes a lot of the fun out of it as far as, you know, the flickability and fidget factor. So we're going to revert back to that. The jimping style is, the jimping locations are right in the sense that it wraps around, but they had gone to a different jimping style, which is not our preference. So we're going to go back to that. So if you can see on the left is the original one. They're tighter together and they're more coarse. So just they function better. And same thing on this, you know, new one on the left, the older one on the right. And so the locations are right, but the jimping is just too worn down. But, you know, it's one of those things that, like, we didn't really communicate to the factory, hey, we want, you know, X style of jimping. We just said, here's where the jimping goes. And, you know, they knocked it out of the park the first time, or, you know, they did it exactly the way we wanted it to be. And then when we, you know, came back, we just didn't think to say, oh, like, hey, we love that jimping, you know, make sure we have that same thing. And so a couple other things like that, and actually in kind of the rush to get this to us, they did leave off the step of beveling these edges, but that beveling is gonna be there. You can see between the two, maybe you can see this. on the one on the left, you don't have any beveling, and the one on the right, you do have beveling on all those 90-degree angles. There's also one other strange thing, and I'm not sure what exactly happened here, but the blade profile is slightly different. If you can see on the one on the left, there's a rise in the, I'll just drop that here, no big deal. There's a rise in the blade right here. And so we just pointed that out to them, said, you know, hey, make sure that we've got the, you know, the blade shape with the straight spine is what we're aiming for. Let's see, a couple of other changes that were things that we they had thought that the drop shut action was like a bug, not a feature, initially, and so they introduced this more of a glassy action rather than a free swinging action. But that's not really what we're looking for. We really prefer, you know, just this free swinging action of this one. And so, so we're going to go back to that as well. And let's see. There was one other thing. This is, I'll show you on the interior. But there was another issue, where, you mentioned that this one that failed. There's a spot on the liner leaf where the lock face failed, and they had introduced a hole in that area for the purpose of using it as a locating hole for production. But you know, since the failure happened at that point, we don't want a hole, you know, anywhere near that point. So we asked them to either remove that or find another place that's below, you know, very far below the area where the failure occurred. That way we're not kind of introducing a problem. We also got, I'll throw up some pictures of the anodization. And those came out really, really nice. They look really, really good. Obviously, it's a small batch, and so the colors on each of the individual parts, especially with the smaller parts, you know, are just, you know, the shades a little bit different. I think we're going to be able to correct that, you know, to the best of our ability. But you know, obviously, you've got different size pieces. Getting them in that exact shade is just, you know, it's just a little tricky. So they'll be working on that. And so those came out really good. The only problem with it was the stonewash versions, and I'll throw up the stonewash versions as well. The stonewash, there's not enough of a distinction, or like in terms of the finish on the stonewash. A couple of them, like the blue one, you can kind of see some of the stonewashing. But it's like a different hue. It's more of a blurple, so we're going to need to get that fixed. The purple one is probably the better example of, you can see more of the stonewashing on there, but still not significant enough. The rust one doesn't really show any stonewashing, so and then the teal one is kind of okay, but we're going to work to get the stonewash on that a lot better. I think that the issue there is they're doing the stonewash and then anodization. And I think what I have more in mind is I think what's called a nuke finish, where like a nuked finish, where you stonewash it, anodize it, and then stonewash it again. So it's just a more textured look. So that's more what we're going for. Oh, also we did get the indecision coin in, so I'll throw that up here as well, just so you can kind of see what that's going to look like. I think it came out really, really nice, very, very detailed, very fun. I mean, it's just like anything else with the Aurora knife and tool. It's like they're all deep cuts, which I mean, like maybe that's our new branding, is like the deepest of deep cuts, because everything is like, you know, so esoteric. But you know, if you have to both know what a decision coin is, want one, and then also not mind if it's can't actually help you make a decision. But you know, it's a lot of fun. It's really, really cool. I think it's going to photograph really, really well, and just be like a fun, you know, talking point to have in your pocket. A couple other things on Truffles. So we've got this little like mohawk here, which we thought on the left hand side, that's the second one. We thought that mohawk would give us an extra little reach, but it really doesn't. And so since it doesn't actually serve a purpose, we're going to knock that down. We did raise the front flipper just a little bit. But we're going to bring that back. Also, we did make an improvement on the wire inside the button. If you remember, that was sort of like a very thin wire in a square shape. And what they've done is they've replaced it with a round shape and with a thicker wire. I think that's going to work a lot better. You know, right now the one that we've got, it's you know, it's a taller spring because the collar is taller, but both us and the factory both agreed that the collar was not a great change, and that the original was a lot better. Yeah, so for the most part, you know, we've got a lot good here. I mean, you know, honestly, at the end of the day, if this was the knife that we were shipping out to you guys, I'd still be proud of it. There's a lot to love with it. I mean, I've been carrying it around and using it and fidgeting with it, and it's easy. You know, it's great in and out of the pocket. The action is super satisfying. So I mean, even if this was the one that showed up, it's a great knife, but there were just some elements from the first run that we really loved that we, you know, it's kind of like I just wish we had notated, hey, this is one of the things we love. Make sure to include it on the second round. And so so that's all been communicated with the factory. They're all aware of that, making the changes, going to be producing a third prototype. You know, I'd even considered, you know, not doing a third prototype, but what they said is they really want on their end, you know, a piece in hand that they can compare the ones coming off the line to, and just be like, okay, point for point, you know, this is what we're looking for. And so I get that, and I mean, it'd be great to have a third run prototype, and you know, also just to be able to show you guys, you know, what we're aiming for. So like I said, the plan in here is to combine the best of the first one with the best of the second one. And yeah, so I think it's going to be great. Super excited about the way that it's going. So you know, let me know if you guys have any questions, want to see anything else. I'm hoping that we'll be able to do a live here pretty soon, just to kind of catch up with everybody and see how things are going. But yeah, love hearing from you guys. Thank y'all for your patience as I've been recovering. And yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions, or if we can do anything for you. And otherwise, we'll catch you next time. Thanks so much, folks.